In this video, we're going to visit our rock again and talk a little bit more about your paint layers. As mentioned in a previous video, you definitely want to start painting by using the layer option here. Once you get create new paint layer, just like when you made your diffuse, you want to go ahead and give it a name, choose a size, and also a format. Remember that the size you use is very important. 2048 is a nice standard size, as is 1024, but you also can work in 4096. It's always good to have a higher resolution output. If you need to work lower, you can always reduce that size at a later stage in Photoshop or another application. Inside Diffuse, of course, we're going to paint our color. With your paint tools, just like before, you're going to come in here and start painting. Now keep in mind that your base color is going to be associated with the color that's coming in with. So my base color right now is set to this gray. If I wanted to assign it the texture here, I could, or I could come in here and change my colors. You're going to start painting, and of course you want to work with your paint colors. You're also welcome to use stamps. And if you can look up, in this case, maybe some granite or other rock colors, you can do this. I really do encourage you to experiment and explore with paintbrush, projections, sampling with the eyedropper, using your airbrush, and other tools. Pencil, of course, is going to give you that finite look. In other words, you can go ahead and work pretty small and get that nice chiseled, etched look into the surface. You can erase your paint. You can clone from areas. So if you want to clone, Control key will let you clone. This is nice when you've created a nice variation in an area. Maybe you want to just kind of continue that variation across the surface. Dry brush. Right now I'm using a color, and I might want to come in here and make it a different color. So if you have not experimented yet with these options, you definitely want to do it this week. And spend some time focusing on looking at your reference, looking at your any kind of photos or images that you've pulled up online so that you can refer to those when you're creating your textures. Now I'm not happy with that, so of course I'm going to undo some of these here. Let's talk a little bit about blur. Blur, of course, is going to go in there and blur that area of paint. Dodging, just like Photoshop, is going to create that dodge or kind of highlighted effect. I recommend that you do this at a much lower intensity, and you can gradually build up on it. Burn is going to darken those areas. It's almost like applying a multiply over that surface. Again, very much like Photoshop. And I also recommend that you do a lower intensity. Contrast. Sponging, it's going to remove color. You can change your hue here. So if you want to go ahead and paint over your surface with a hue color, you can do that as well. You can change your hue shift. So here, if I go to blue, it's going to go ahead and paint green. And then you can invert, of course. So playing with these is key. At this point, let's assume that we've completed this texture, and we're going to go ahead and if we do have any other options up here for for paint layers, I would go ahead and I would actually combine them. Go ahead and again, if you need to just export one single channel or texture, you can go ahead and do that. You can export it as a PSD. and also import if you need to. On the actual color layer that you've created, you can again export selected, export to PSD, solo as diffuse, and you can also merge visible. So you're going to be saving in increments. Make sure that you're saving in increments in Mudbox so that you can go back if you need to. You're going to save off that, just like Photoshop, you want to save off everything with all the layers intact. But it might be easier if you just combine and flatten all of your layers at once for your paint, because you don't want multiple diffuse. You don't want to work with multiple diffuse textures when you're bringing them back into your application, your 3D application, but more importantly, your game engine. And if you are using Marmoset, so you want to make sure that you only have one diffuse and one specular and so on.